I think I want to pick your brain on this.
Sure.
I think there are a lot of different reasons why Kamala Harris lost. Let's start with her first, and then you could tell me your thoughts on whether you agree or not. But I think she was put up against the 8 ball only several months to make the case to the American people. I do put partial blame to Joe Biden, and I like Joe Biden. I thought he was a really good president. I have a lot of respect for him. But, this decision needed to be made earlier, in my personal opinion. And there should have been primaries. I mean, there really should have been primaries. That's number two. Number three, the messaging. Instead of talking about Project 2025, maybe just take the direct quotes of Donald Trump's promises and the things he says. I think if they focused more on that, that would have resonated with the American people. And then we go to the other side of it. And I stand by what I always say, which is his base of supporters. Not everybody that voted for Donald Trump, but his base of supporters are mostly made up of uneducated, ill-informed people, many of them bigots, racist, and I'm sorry, just not good people for the country. That doesn't mean everybody that voted for Trump is like that, because I don't feel that way. But I think multiple reasons, and I'll start there and I'll let you take over. I don't know if you agree or not with that.
Well, I disagree with a lot of what you said. I think the idea that because we warned the country of what Project 2025 is, that didn't help is kind of ridiculous. And the reason why I say that is because next year, when they start to implement these things one by one, the country's going to learn, oh, it was serious. People were serious, because it is a serious plan. Now, I will say maybe we were late to the game on how to convey that message. And maybe that message was conveyed a little differently. But the reason why Kamala Harris lost, and let's get real here, is she's a woman.
I think that's a part of it. I don't disagree with you. Can I just go back to what you just said?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I don't have a problem, in my opinion, with bringing up Project 2025. That's not my issue. And listen, I'm with you in the fact that, listen, he might try to implement some of this stuff.
Right.
So I don't disagree with bringing it up, like what you said. I didn't have a problem with that. What I kind of had more of a problem of is I don't think Harris and the Democrats conveyed what Donald Trump has actually said, like his direct quotes. He's going to end the Ukraine war in a day. I guess on January 21st, the war is going to be over. I mean, tax credits on Social Security. I mean, the promises that he has made to the American people, he will not fulfill. I just wish he focused a little bit more on his actual quotes and statements. I don't mind bringing up Project 2025. It's scary. So I guess, maybe we're somewhere in the middle there. I don't have a problem with her bringing it up.
Well, here's what I'll say to that is that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and the people around the campaign aren't the amplifier. They're not the media. All they can do is say these things. And I watched several videos. I posted several videos of Tim Walz actually saying the stuff that you're saying, of the stuff that he said, the stuff that he's done. And they would say it at rallies. They would say it at gatherings. He would say it in front of a microphone. Tim Walz did a really good job, I think, of articulating some of that stuff to what we would consider some of the normies out there. And what I mean by normies is like people who might actually vote for Donald Trump, and they had a chance to kind of sway that voter. What really happened was she's a woman, and this country does not want a woman to be a president of the United States.
I agree.
And those people didn't actually go because the votes that Trump has, he's got less votes now in this win than he had in his loss in 2020. How we lost this is people sat at home because she's a woman.
I think you might be right on that. I'm not discounting your opinion there, and I think we agree.
I will say that I think there's more than one reason, but ultimately the top line reason of why this election swayed the way it did is because she's a woman.
Probably Hillary Clinton in 2016 as well. I mean, you could make the case there as well. I think.
I definitely could make the case.
Sure, absolutely. So I certainly I've talked about that. Listen, I think that's one of the main reasons. I no question. I agree with you there. But I also think that Joe Biden should have stepped aside earlier, and I thought that was a mistake. Now,
so that's the other thing that I kind of have a disagreement with you there on. Why would Joe Biden step aside as the president of the United States?
Well, okay, so here's the deal, right? He had alluded to before that he would be a one-term president. He had made statements alluding to that. So that would be my first case there. Number two, the main reason why he stepped down, in my opinion, I know obviously he was pressured by Nancy Pelosi and maybe Barack Obama, but he had a horrible debate. It was a terrible debate.
Sure.
And I think if he had had a better debate, he might have still ran for office. Now, listen, he had a 40% approval rating. He was not going to defeat Donald Trump, in my opinion. I think she gave the Democrats the best chance in this situation. I just think there should have been a primary. I think they're probably, looking back on it, Monday morning quarterbacking, I like Kamala Harris. I think she's a wonderful woman. But I do think that the Gavin Newsoms of the world, or even picking Josh Shapiro as her VP nominee, would have given them a better chance to win. There should have been a primary. And I don't think 3 months, in my opinion, is enough time to make the case to the American people.
So let me ask you, because you bring up a primary, because there was a lot of talk when Joe Biden stepped aside to have some sort of like short primary or something. And
Yeah.
A lot of people were worried about that. The other thing that people were worried about, and I think we're discounting in this conversation, is the Democratic base. To actually cast out the Democratic base, which is black people in this country, by the way. I want to point that out. That's the reason why those text messages that are being sent to black people aren't being sent by liberals. They're being sent by MAGA. Yeah. But the Democratic base in this country is black people. And the Democratic Party knows that. Joe Biden knows that better than anyone. That's actually how he became the president of the United States. If we want to do a little bit of history here, Joe Biden had no money and he was going to lose in Iowa in the 2020 primary. He went to South Carolina and won, and he won almost every state after that. He won almost all the black vote across the country. Mm-hmm. It's what made him win the nomination for the Democratic Party. Now, having said that, what you cannot do and what they could not do was skip Kamala Harris's vice presidential pick. And the reason why Harris was his vice president is because the Democratic base in this country is black people, and they wanted her to be vice president, and he obliged that, and he was very, 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 very empathetic to that, and he made that happen. And she was a good vice president. There was no reason for her not to be vice president. They could say border czar and all that nonsense, but at the end of the day, she did her job and she did it well. Now, sure, you could make the argument here, and I think I can make the argument, that if Joe Biden would have stayed in the race as opposed to leave when he was forced out by billionaires and whoever it was, billionaires, maybe the money that were scared, he would have won. I think he would have beat Trump actually on Tuesday.
Okay, but he had a 40% approval rating, though.
I don't think that matters.
You don't think that? Okay. Well, I mean,
what was Donald Trump's approval rating in the country on Tuesday?
Pretty low as well. So that's a valid point. Listen, I guess the hard part here is, we just don't know, right? We can.
We can do this Monday morning quarterbacking stuff all day long. But at the end of the day, kind of what matters is what goes forward. But I believe that there is a lot of reasons why we're in the situation that we're in. But the main reason why we're in the situation that we're in is us as Americans are unwilling to really know the actual hard, harsh truth.